Yes, May 24th, how could I forget? Yay! It's election day, and we have a very special guest with us today. We have Nicole Horn, so stay in tune. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Long day.
Everyone, so we are back with somebody who I have been seeing like almost at every labor rally I have gone to. Ms. Horn, we finally got you. We got you on the show the day of the election. But how are you?
I am great. And please just call me Nicole.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right.
Definitely.
So let's talk about. So you're running for labor commissioner of the state of Georgia.
Yes.
First off, let's just start off by saying like, why? Why labor commissioner out of everything?
I'm uniquely qualified for this position, and here's why I say this. For, well, a few things. First, I'm the daughter of a lifetime union member. My dad was a heavy equipment operator, so he built roads for a living. And until I was 16, we lived in Connecticut, and so my dad was laid off almost every year because you can't lay the asphalt once it gets too cold. It won't do it right. And so my dad applied for unemployment benefits, and we received them exactly the way it's supposed to work. And it's not the way it's working here in Georgia. I mean, we're more than 2 years into this pandemic, and the average wait time is still 4 to 6 months to receive unemployment insurance. And those are benefits that you've earned. And I hope we'll talk about the mess that is the current Department of Labor. But I looked at that and combined with my background, which is I owned a company for 15 years that worked with universities across the country. And we used labor data to help universities select and then in many cases build programs for adult students. So I'm the only candidate who's helped thousands of Georgians move into better jobs. I think the job of the Department of Labor needs to be to make sure unemployment works. But we need to talk about underemployment in our state because it's pretty high, and it's highest amongst our black and brown communities, and we need somebody who's ready to tackle that, and I'm happy to talk about that as well. But those two things combined really made labor commissioner something that I was like, this is where I can make an impact. This is where I can help millions of Georgians live a better life, and we can really strengthen community, which is, to me, the point of government.
So let's talk about that for a minute. So we know that whoever wins the Democratic primary will run against probably Mark Butler.
No, he's not running.
He's not running.
There's no way he would win.
Right.
So he was like, I'm just not going to run.
The thing is, I remember us last year where the state of Georgia, when I say the state of Georgia, I mean the people who sit in power, had made a conscious decision that they wanted everybody to go back to work.
Yeah.
But yet they were not calling the Department of Labor back to work. And we were out there plenty of times where we were actually saying, unlock the doors, open the doors.
I spent the night, I was the only candidate who spent the night in front of the Department of Labor with some union leaders and some other groups protesting, because on top of all of that, they ended the additional federal benefits early.
Very early.
And we spent the night protesting. Sorry, I interrupted your question there, Sean.
No, I'm just curious to know, like, when you look at the Department of Labor now, we talked about the backlog and people getting unemployment, right? Even the systems that they use is so out of date. What is that you would bring if you were elected, if the people of Georgia elected you to be labor commissioner, what are some of the things that you can immediately make an impact on when it comes to the Department of Labor?
I love that question. Well, our first priority needs to be to address unemployment insurance. The huge backlog of appeals right now, it's ridiculous. 80% of people who apply for unemployment are initially turned down. You talked about broken processes. That's a broken process. About the same number of black Georgians and white Georgians apply for unemployment, but black Georgians are turned down twice as often. That's a broken process. I can immediately improve and streamline processes. I will immediately demand from the General Assembly an increased budget for staffing. I think they were saying that 94% of people who called the Department of Labor couldn't reach anyone. On top of the career centers that the Department of Labor runs, they remained closed, which is what we were protesting about. So I'm tackling this with the mantra of people, processes, and technology. We need to improve processes, and knowing better processes will help us get a good sense of the people that we need. And technology. The tech we run on is called COBOL, which, for any of you who are watching, it's antiquated. It was built in 1969, and they stopped teaching COBOL in the 80s. So finding somebody who actually knows how to work COBOL is really hard. We need to upgrade that so it should be on the cloud. The crazy thing is that Mark Butler got a multi-million-dollar grant in 2012 to upgrade technology, and he just dropped out in 2019. He didn't make the upgrades. So, yeah,
Wow.
we got some work to do. But I also am going to open up the doors. Right now, we've got a Department of Labor that keeps bank hours, that if you want to go to the Department of Labor, you have to make an appointment. And they will only create an appointment for you to help you find a job. They will not make an appointment for you to help with unemployment insurance, which is crap. And so I'll open up. We won't keep bank hours, and I also want to put in place mobile career centers so that we can go to where unemployment and underemployment is highest.
So one of the things that I've been extremely passionate about, definitely talking to candidates who are running for labor commissioner, is a lot of what we're seeing in society is a breakdown between government and community, right? A breakdown between government and community. And even people, I don't think you understand, like even labor, agriculture, all of you guys have ways that you can help build the relationship between government and community.
Yes.
With the labor department, what are some of your ideas that will be new, that will benefit the community? Like, would it be something like vocational training, offering funding for that? Partner with nonprofits. That's another thing that the labor department could do. That would be a huge help.
Away on that point. Yes, partnerships are going to be core of what the Department of Labor should be doing. So I'm going to be setting up regional labor boards that will have on them union members, nonprofits. We have some phenomenal nonprofits like Black Push. Like, we've got great nonprofits doing great work. We need to build bridges between nonprofits and between nonprofits and the Department of Labor. The mission originally for Black Push was to help returning citizens find jobs. One of my core tenets for why I'm running is DOL should be working with the prison system to help people find jobs. We don't do that now. That's crazy. But in addition to that, and this gets back to underemployment. So can I throw some stats at y'all? So underemployment in Georgia is 9%. Unless you're a Black or Latino woman, and then it's 15%. If you're a Black man, it's 18%.
Wow.
It's racism, and we know it. But we need to fight against that and build better pathways to better jobs. There's a couple of levers that the Department of Labor can pull. One of them would be apprenticeship programs. So, as I said, my dad, union member, heavy equipment operator, I've gone to the unions to learn about their apprenticeship programs. They have existing apprenticeship programs that people graduate. You earn while you learn, so you're making $15 an hour in your first year, and it goes up from there. By the time you graduate, you're making, $60,000, $70,000 a year. But not everybody wants to do a skilled labor job.
Right.
So we also need white-collar apprenticeship programs, and that's where DOL should be working with our technical colleges, our HBCUs, our public schools, our private nonprofits to create white-collar apprenticeship programs. Home Depot is pulling people off the floor of the Home Depot and training them to be software engineers. So you go from making $12 and $13 an hour to $70,000 a year. Like, we're hearing the demand of employers for talent. Let us help bridge that talent gap and get people into better jobs. Because right now, we've got too many people who are saying things like, I can't even get the number of hours I want. I spoke with a woman a few weeks ago who's like, oh, my daughter works for Dollar General and she can never get more than 30 hours.
Wow.
And that's happening to far too many Georgians. So that's my vision. And also paid internships. DOL should be the resource for paid internships. We should be the place that schools are sending their students and that companies go to, and we would have requirements. It's paid, it's a project based so that they can build resumes. And I mean, our company always had paid internships, and one of my paid interns is now a senior director at the company that bought us.
Oh wow.
The other one's a manager at the company that bought us. Like, we got talent and took them in. So
right. So I have a question for you in regards to childcare and how it plays into your overall plan.
yeah. Thank you, James, for asking this. So I'm the only working mom who's running. I am the mom of a 13-year-old daughter who's sure she's 25. You should see the dress she's wearing to the 8th grade dance. Her father's like, and a 16-year-old son who's taking his driver's test this Friday. I remember when my kids needed childcare. Childcare is expensive. In Georgia, the average childcare costs have gone from $6,000 a year to $14,000 a year just since the start of the pandemic. It's crippling. We receive federal dollars to help lower-income families pay for childcare. We're only able to use 17%. We're only able to serve 17% of those families because we run out of the money so fast. That means, sorry, I'm throwing a lot of statistics, but the most recent research, and it was done in 2019, said that we leave $1.7 billion of economic impact on the table because working parents can't go to their job full time, or they can't take a promotion because it would impact childcare. And that is $100 million in tax money. Think of what we could do if we put $100 million of tax money into childcare in Georgia. If we raised the threshold, if we raised the cap of being able to receive assistance and made it more accessible, we could get more people back to work and give people more opportunities, which would strengthen and lift up communities as a whole. So,
you know what's interesting is that, so I come from, I don't know if you know this, but I come from the restaurant industry. One of the hardest decisions I ever had to make was in the beginning of COVID. We had 14 stores at the time, and it was a debate about which stores we shut down, who was able to be safe. And then there was even a debate from an employee perspective that there was a lot of resources that the federal government had sent down for people who were losing their jobs or had to work from home or be furloughed. And one employee who I was working for was like, well, we have to, if they're going to get paid to be at home, we might as well make them come back and open the store. And it was crazy to me because what we were doing is we were saying that money was a priority over people's life because we didn't know what was going on. We didn't understand COVID in the beginning.
Yes.
And what we found in the restaurant industry, per se, is like when we did start to reopen, people didn't want to go into that job anymore because they realized that $725 was not what it was going to be. And the crazy part was that you had a person who was making $725 an hour, plus they probably didn't have a vehicle and they had to catch the bus to get there. And even when we talk about essential workers, we labeled people who work in the restaurant industry as essential workers, meaning that they had to go to work and that they could go to work, but we never gave them anything for the amount of sacrifice they made
and risk.
Because most restaurants stayed open or opened early, and we were the only thing that was open, so people were coming to us.
Yeah.
But what do we do with that mindset of people who are saying like, hey, you know what? No longer, and people, I always quote this because people don't even know that the state minimum wage in Georgia is only $5.15 an hour.
Yep.
Only reason why we get $7.25 is because federal supersedes state.
Yeah.
But I was reading an article that the average, like even where I stay, when I first moved into my home, I was paying $1,100 a month for rent, right? During COVID, it has now jumped up to $1,450.
Yes, it
and
has.
imagine the person who's making $7.25 an hour in gas prices. Like, you're going to lose that in gas by going to work. What can we do when it comes to people who say, you know what, I no longer want to work for minimum wage anymore? My life requires more than that. What is it that you can do as the labor commissioner to help increase the minimum wage in the state of Georgia, give people a livable wage?
A few things. So I can't just say we need to be paying $15 an hour.
Right.
But I can be an advocate at the Capitol for pushing for that increase and tying that increase to inflation. But the 725 that we're talking about was passed in 2009. It already has 20% less buying power than it did in 2009. And if you look at the federal minimum wage from the 60s, we have 30% less buying power. So we need to talk about the buying power of federal minimum wage, and we need to raise our state minimum wage to $15. And we shouldn't be having this argument every 10 plus years. It should just increase as inflation increases. But the other thing I can do is I am going to be the one who's going after businesses to bring them into Georgia. And I want to make sure the businesses that I'm going after align with the moral compass of our community, which means that pays a living wage, that pays benefits, and we need to talk about a post-Roe world that would be willing to pay for a person with a uterus to leave the state if they need to get an abortion. Those are the companies we need to attract. And then we need to talk about the reality that when you pay people better, you get better results.
And it's not
Here in Georgia, there's research around that. We need to talk about that and encourage for the sake of the business for them to do that.
But then it's good economics too. The reality is that, and the funny part is, I always find it interesting, and I'm not trying to make this a race-based issue, but whenever you put money in the hands of African Americans, traditionally we go out and we spend it immediately.
Yeah.
We don't try to save it. We ain't try to put it on a savings account. We're at Walmart. We're at restaurants. We are out there saving. So the reality is that I know from where I was growing up in, is that when we had more money coming to the household, we put more money out into the economy. I don't understand how the.
I think of it as an investment in the community.
Right.
Because it's not, I don't think of it as frittering. I think of people investing in their community, investing in their families, investing in their kids. I interrupted you.
No.
Sean.
So I love the fact that we talked about community and how the Department of Labor, for the average person who knows nothing about the Department of Labor, besides the fact that they're the ones who I get my unemployment benefits, you guys do way more than that.
Yeah.
You actually just mentioned some of it, that you are responsible for actually helping bring businesses into the state of Georgia, right? Mm-hmm. Tell us, what is the Department of Labor? Besides unemployment, what else does it do? Because most people don't even know that if you're a U.S. offender, they have a bonding program that you actually get through the Department of Labor. It's actually the federal bonding program is through the Department of Labor. Mm-hmm. Some of those things that people don't know about that are resources that the community should know about.
Okay. Well, the things that I always think of that are top of mind is unemployment insurance. So if you lose a job through no fault of your own, it's the Department of Labor that you go to. If you are looking for a job, the Department of Labor is supposed to be a resource for that. Unfortunately, that's something that I think we can help with, because the Employ Georgia website, which is like the Indeed.com for Georgia, last summer when we were looking, it had jobs on it from 2017. Mm-hmm. So we need to upgrade that. And we need to put resources in our career centers to help people to proof resumes, to help people with practice interview skills, to help people have job alignment. One thing that is important to me that we don't talk very much about, because it impacts a much smaller community, but it's one of our most threatened communities are documented immigrants who come to Georgia. Mm-hmm. So we oversee the visa program that we give visas, particularly for agricultural workers, that comes through the Department of Labor. For those of you who may not know this, in November there was a big sting operation called Operation Bloomin' Onion, where they busted a big human trafficking ring that was made up of documented immigrants who had come to Georgia for agricultural work. Their passports were stolen. They were being forced to work on onion fields using their hands without shovels. They were being held at gunpoint. There is, at the Department of Labor, there is supposed to be a central monitoring unit that is supposed to oversee to make sure people are being treated fairly and paid well. That's not working. That's not working. So another thing that I am focused on is we need to ramp up that central monitoring unit. Right now, they call ahead before they come to check on documented workers. No, we're not doing that. And we also want to make sure that I receive phone numbers for any documented workers who are coming. And if you don't have a phone, I'm going to give you a burner phone so that we are calling and in constant connection. It blows my mind that the Department of Labor could be an advocate to ending human trafficking. And that's also something important that the department does.
Wow, that's kind of bewildering.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let me just take a step back a little bit to, because the question that came to mind was, what reason would the DOL have not to implement some of these programs that should be the internship for one, when it's beneficial to the health and the state of the health of the state financially?
I don't know. I can make some guesses. And I'm going to talk in really broad terms, but I'll paint with a broad brush. What we're seeing of the current Republican Party is we want to be as tiny as possible. We want, I mean, they're verging on libertarian leading towards dictatorships. Like, they don't want to help, so they just want as minimum of a government as possible, because it's supposed to be your job to do all those things. There's no recognition of the inequities of communities. There's no recognition of the impact that government can have in creating pathways, creating infrastructure that lifts everyone. I mean, I have been told that Mark Butler flat out does not believe in unemployment insurance. So if you don't believe, it's this typical Donald Trump putting people in charge of departments they didn't believe in. If you don't believe in something, you're going to cut it down as far as you can. Or it could be they have no imagination, no leadership skills, no willingness to try and push the envelope.
Yes.
So,
That's
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we know it's election day.
Yeah.
As you stated, you've already been out.
That's why I'm wearing a
signs.
t-shirt. T-shirt waving signs.
T-shirt waving signs. So one of the things that's really important to me, right, is that I've been working with another nonprofit and a few nonprofits, and somebody in particular, trying to motivate young women to run for office. I feel like I really personally feel like if we had more women in elected offices,
Yes.
Maybe some of the issues and the backbiting and the fighting that we have going on would probably be less.
Yeah.
Because men are, no knock to men, but we seem to, power seems to consume the average man. Perfect example. No, I'm just joking. But no, seriously, what would be the message that you would have for that young lady or that young girl who's out there right now saying, I can't be that? What would be your message to let them know that they can be whatever they really want to be?
This is, I gave a speech to the Junior League about, not that dissimilar from this. Women always feel like they have to be over-prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And this is true both running for office as well as taking promotions. Women are far less likely to pursue a promotion that is a stretch promotion. But the weird thing is that women are far more likely to be given stretch promotions than men, but we don't ask. We also the research is that women don't also negotiate for better salaries. Men more often than not do. And I found that as a business owner. Men would negotiate with me, and women most often would not. And women we need to not do that anymore. We are powerful. We can make an impact. And I would say, run. There are great resources out there. Her Term is a newer resource in Georgia that helped me kind of lay the groundwork for running.
Emerge Georgia is another
Emerge
nonprofit,
Georgia.
yes.
Georgia Winlist has an ongoing class. Emerge has a fantastic class. one. And what I found to be striking is that I have discovered a community of women who are running for the first time. And we meet, and you will find that with women, we'll lift one another up. So I meet right now on a monthly basis with Chandra Farley, who's running for Public Service Commissioner, Patty Durand, who's also running for that, Gabrielle Rogers, who's running for a House seat, Lisa Marie Bristol, who's running for a Solicitor General in Gwinnett. And we've kind of lifted one another up. And as we've had events, we've pulled in other women who are running for office. And like, women will also lift one another up. We are here for one another. And if somebody is curious about running, call me. Call me. And send me an email and we'll get in touch. Because one of the best things that I've been through is reaching out to other people to say, how do I get started? Can I do this? And we're lucky enough to have some really fabulous women running right now that I'm excited to vote for.
So last question, if people want to know more information about Ms. Nicole Horn, where can they go to find out more information about you?
They can go to Nicole Horn, Horn, like a trumpet, FOR, Georgia, all spelled out, .com, NicoleHornforGeorgia.com. You can send me an email at, because I've gotten questions as people are trying to make decisions about voting, Nicole Horn at NicoleHornforGeorgia.com. Although I'll tell you, on election day, I'll try and check my email. It's a little more, I'm running around a little bit more. And they can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, Nicole Horn for Labor Commissioner on Facebook, and Nicole Horn, the number 4 GA on Instagram. But please feel free to email me in the coming days if you have questions. I pride myself on being a pretty open door candidate. I think that's what we need. So
great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Good luck on your race.
Thank
I
you.
know this is nerve-wracking for you and everybody else out there who's running today. And just know that organizations like ours out there fighting to make sure every vote is counted.
Yes.
Because that's extremely important as well. And if you want to know more about Mrs. Horn, it's just a habit. Nicole Horn, you can also go to Nicole Horn for Georgia.com. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have the link also on our Facebook page as well if you want to go and check out. But just ending on this note, we had a great time in Augusta this past Saturday.
Yes.
We're on our way to Macon on what day, James?
June 25th.
June 25th, we'll be in Macon for our next One Quarter Conference. And then on July 16th, we're having our annual, our Night of Service Gala, where we'll be honoring Zenoda Clayton, Ambassador Young, Reverend McDonald, Helen Butler,
Sandra Lee Williams.
Yes.
Deborah Scott.
Deborah Scott, same people. So we're super
great
excited.
people.
Yeah, we're super excited about that. But remember, you guys, today is May 24th. Please
Go vote.
go vote.
Go vote.
And if you voted already, find 4 more people on your phone who haven't voted yet and get them to the polls. We're actually outside of our office. There's a voting booth outside of our office. Literally, people are voting in the gym next door to us. So it's important that everybody get out and vote. And make sure your voice is heard, because we don't want to complain about it after the fact.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Thank you again, Ms. Horn. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing what the results come out tonight. But until tomorrow, you guys stay blessed.
I'm just going to go to Cobb and stand the way around on the street. That's fun. But thank you so much. I'm going to try and come to the gala. So, is it cocktail? Yeah. Good.
It's black tie. Sean, you can
People are dying because they're waiting on us. What are you going to do?
not that.
What are you going to do?
All of them.